It's the Action Figure Grader, and I am back with another eBay price guide for the Vintage Collection line of Star Wars figures, and I am filming this on Sunday. I might release this a couple of days early. I might release this on Tuesday instead of my usual Thursday Vintage Collection market update, only because my week is complete hell. I've got so much going on, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to film much of anything this week other than a Vintage Collection market update and the what to buy video. That will definitely be on Friday. Other than that, I may not get any other videos done this week, which is abnormal for me. I spend all of my time working out and making videos. That's literally it. But right now, work is getting in the way. I've got a new Patreon to say thanks to, and it's somebody I know really well, Gary Moore. I met Gary at the ICC convention last year, I believe. He came over to my house when we were grilling out and playing cornhole and Texas Hold'em and all that good stuff. And I think I've met him 2 years in a row now. I might have met him the year before that as well. Gary became a Patreon, so thank you, Gary. He's got an amazing collection, really knowledgeable about the Vintage Collection especially. So thank you to all my Patreons who allow this video and all my other videos to happen. Let's go ahead and dig into some recent sales. We've got some foil Ultimate Galactic hunts first. And I wanted to touch on Boba Fett because I feel like Boba Fett is really coming down in price. We see that with the vintage Kenner mint-on cards. That's definitely been the case. And even for loose graded vintage Kenner Boba Fett's. But I'm starting to more and more see Boba Fett's drop a little bit in price. And for the longest time, this was always considered this to be about $125 for the foil VC09 Ultimate Galactic Hunt. And this one sold for $93 in an auction. And I've got some more Boba Fett's here in a second to kind of support that. Here's another foil. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. This one looked to be in really clean shape. This one did sell for $179. Obi-Wan's kind of going the opposite direction. After the Book of Boba Fett stuff went down. After the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I feel like if anything related to Ewan McGregor, it's gone up. I mean, you know, his signature on comic books, Vintage Collection, even Vintage Kenner, Old Man Kenobis seem to be really holding their own in value. So $179 for a beautiful foil US card, VC16 Obi-Wan. Here's another one that's always pretty desirable, although this price is down a little bit. This is the Magna Guard on the foil card. This one sold at an auction for $96, which I guess that's about in line. I mean, obviously the unpunched Magna Guard is one of the holy grails and very tough to get, VC18 unpunched, and those can go for a lot of money. I've seen as high as $800 last year, and now I'd say more like $400 for an unpunched example of the Magna Guard. But this foil example did sell for $96 in an auction, which I guess that's about right. I mean, you know, it might have come down a little bit. Here is an unpunched Revenge of the Jedi Darth Vader. This is a true offerless with no paperwork inside the blister. So this is the SDCC version. And Power Droid, which is a seller that always has really nice high grade Vintage Collection, both graded and ungraded. He did sell this one. This one sold for $100. I thought that was a really good deal for the SDCC version and a price I would have paid in a heartbeat. Next up, going back to Boba Fett, this one is kind of a partially unpunched Revenge of the Jedi retail release. So it has the Boba Fett prototype offer sticker as well as the paperwork inside the blister, and was in really good shape overall. I say partially unpunched because if you look at the punch there, it looks like it's starting to pop out a little bit. And that maybe that held the price down a little bit. It sold for $93. Now, in all fairness, I've seen really clean unpunched with no issues on that hang tab sell for about the same price, about $100. So it does seem to me like recently, anyway, some Boba Fett's have gone for a lot less money than maybe they have in past months. And maybe that's to be expected with just the fact that maybe there's a little bit of Star Wars fatigue out there. I don't know. Next up, an unpunched R5-D4. This one sold for $97, a very good deal. I think I paid closer to $120 for mine that ended up grading CAS 90. This one looks to be about an 85 plus, maybe just a little bit of edge wear at the very top there that you can see by the Star Wars Vintage Collection logo. Otherwise, very clean. Very, very clean example for R5-D4. $97 on that one. And we talked about this in the last video. You know, obviously R5-D4 got reissued on the Mandalorian card back. Does that affect the original issue, even though it's a different card back technically with the Star Wars racetrack? And obviously the Luke looking over the Jawa R5D4 with the bad motivator getting ready to try and get ripped off by the Jawas. I don't know. It does seem like maybe that there's potential that the R5D4 goes down in value moving forward. Luke Dagobah landing. Man, this thing is all over the place in terms of price. Now, this one was an unpunched example, but it was not clean. You can see some very obvious edge wear by the warning. And then over here, there's even more edge wear with like a tear or something going on in the upper left-hand corner. Despite all that, this one was the clear saber version. And it seems like the market has spoken and they agree with me that the clear saber is a little tougher to find. Now, this was over in the UK, so potentially the clear saber is even harder to find over there than here in the US. But and it could be a currency conversion type of thing where 175 pounds doesn't mean as much to you guys over in England as it does to when it translates to US dollars of $221 for not even one that was super clean. So I was shocked by that sales price. I mean, to me, here in the US, maybe 175, maybe that's a very top end number. And I mean, I've sent out some Patreon buy it now alerts for Luke clear sabers, now admittedly punched, but they were like 150, so a lot less. And I've seen some unpunched dark saber versions be under $100 over here in the US, believe it or not. So again, part of it might be conversion of the currency. Part of it might be the clear saber. The lack of inventory for the clear saber version over in the UK, all of those factors could have played a role. But given that it wasn't even a clean example with the edge wear up top, and even on the back, I mean, the back, there's obvious edge wear to it. So I don't know. This is like an 80 grade at best. And it still sold for $221 US. Big money. Cathaba, now this is when I did send it to my Patreons. And I said, buy it now. It was listed for $69 US. And it was a buy it now or auction starting at like $39. Well, they decided to bid. They didn't buy it now, and it ended up going for $1 over that. So it sold for $70.84. What's special about it? Well, it's the Canadian version with the multi-language name pill and also the red bandana, which are harder to find over here. And, the harder to find Canadian version with the French language on the back. So at least for us in the U.S., the red bandana Cathaba is a lot harder to find, but this is the Canadian version as well with the multi-language name pill. Really nice item there. It sold for $70.84. Very good deal, I think, on that one, even though it did go for above what the original buy it now price was with the starting lower bid price in an auction. Next up, Qui-Gon Jinn, U.S. card, unpunched with the Darth Maul offer sticker. Very clean. That one sold for $102.50, about in line with market and where I see those usually sell. Darth Malgus, maybe this one's moving up just a little bit. This is the U.S. card, again, unpunched and sold for $86. Typically, that's about right, I guess. That's at the upper end of the range. You can probably sneak in some auctions and get one for $75-ish. But $86, maybe $90 is about the top end for a Darth Malgus U.S. card, unpunched. Grand Moff Tarkin, this is all over the place as well. This one sold in an auction for $103.50. Admittedly, the photos were of it. It's still inside a sliding acrylic case, so you're taking a little bit of a risk there that he's not hiding anything. Not that I'm accusing the seller of that, but again, it's not outside of the sliding acrylic case. $103.50, $10 shipping. This one sold for $115, but it was a punched example. So this one you could argue is a better deal, assuming it's clean, because it sold for a little bit less, and it was unpunched versus a punched example. And then finally, we had this one. This one sold in a buy it now for $140. So that's a huge range in price. Let's call it $113 after shipping, all the way up to $150 after shipping. So pretty insane how much of a price variance there is for Grand Moff Tarkin right now. But that does seem to be on the rejuvenation train. I mean, it got underneath $100 for a little while. I have not seen one sell for under $100. Even a punched example, I haven't seen one sell for under $100 in a while now. So it's definitely moved back up. Going back to this same seller, he listed a VCP03. I don't know why he said VC09 in the title. It's VCP03, the rocket firing Fett. And this one looked pretty clean. Again, inside this sliding acrylic case, it sold for $114.50. I mean, do you remember the times during the Book of Boba Fett when this was going for like $250 to $300 ungraded? And I think we saw some that approached like $600 graded. How far it has fallen. It's unbelievable. Next up, same seller had this unpunched Star Killer on the U.S. card, VC100. Again, looked very clean. That one sold for $90. So again, another one that's really fallen since the reissue hit. This was more like $200 before the reissue. So insane price drop. Another one that had a reissue was the Republic Trooper. This is the original issue expanded universe card, unpunched, and that one sold for $76. That's unbelievable how much that one has dropped. I mean, I remember bidding many times and always losing, and I was bidding like $150, $160 and still losing. And then it won that fan club vote or fans choice vote. And ever since then, it has been on the free fall. Next up, Sand Trooper, another one that's still holding its value really well. This was up in Canada, unpunched, but the U.S. card, so not a Canadian card back. But this is that Dirty Apps VC112 version of the Sand Trooper. And it sold in a make an offer situation for 225 Canadian, which is 166 US dollars. A big number there. But that continues to be a big number, and this one was in really good shape overall. Very, very minor edge wear at most. So 166 US dollars in a make an offer situation. Same seller also had Darth Vader Emperor's Wrath VC115. It was listed for 250 Canadian and sold for 213 Canadian, which is 157 US dollars. That's actually higher than where I've seen that one sell here recently. So big number on that one. Here's another one. This one was a punched example and sold for 200. That's US dollars. So don't overbid, don't overpay for these buy it now situations. Wait for an auction or wait for one that's unpunched where they've got to make an offer button. And this one was 157 unpunched versus $200 punched. So just be careful about overpaying for some of those things that are out there. Yak Face, this one was graded CAS 90+. So this is the HasLab Sail Barge Katana version of Yak Face, and that one sold in a buy it now situation for $400. And we're going to end this look at the vintage collection on a beauty that was picked up by a good friend of mine. I won't say his name. I'll let him show it on his YouTube channel. But this was an archival case AFA 9.0 on the modern scale, Salacious Crumb from the SDCC packet. And it was beautiful, unpunched, really great condition with the archival case upgrade. And it was listed for $1,200. The best offer accepted was $800. So the seller came off 33% off of the list price. I think I'm doing the math right on that. That is a really, really good deal in my mind, and very fair for both the seller and the buyer, because I do think this one has the potential to go down. A lot of you disagree with that. You think it might hold its value given that the card back is different with the Revenge of the Jedi on there versus probably what I assume will be the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary logo. I haven't looked at the detailed specs yet for the new reissue, but I would assume they're going to have the 40th anniversary logo on there, but maybe they don't. I don't know. Anyway, congrats to both the seller and the buyer. They are both channel watchers, and one of them has his own YouTube channel, so I'm sure he'll show that soon in a video. But that one did sell for $800 in a make an offer situation. So that is really all I had for the vintage collection. I hope you enjoyed this look. If you liked the video, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.